Oscar, what are some of your key concerns with the new electoral changes?
Well, I think this legislation is a major assault on the democratic rights of smaller parties, those without parliamentary representation. But I think more broadly, this is an attack on the rights of millions of working people who are increasingly hostile to Labor and the Liberals, recognise that they're two sides of the same coin on all of the fundamental issues: war, austerity, the assault on democratic rights. They agree with one another. And I think, as you noted in the introduction, there is a growing attraction to political alternatives. 25% of people in the last federal election cast a ballot for parties other than Labor and the Liberals. This is a very transparent attempt to shore up the two-party system, to clear the ballot in the lead up to a federal election. But I think more broadly, to muzzle the increasing social and political opposition that's emerging within the working class under conditions of a huge crisis that we're passing through on many fronts: the pandemic, the deepening of social inequality, poverty, especially in working class areas, and the mounting threat of war. So Labor and the coalition have come together, ran through these laws without any discussion to try to prevent those sentiments from finding political expression.
In some of the more practical terms, the membership increase, the need to increase members from 500 to 1,500, you mentioned the pandemic there as well. I've seen it cited in your campaign that obviously this probably couldn't have come at a worse time if you were looking to have to increase membership to keep your party viable. With the pandemic, probably couldn't have come at a worse time.
Yeah, that's correct. And so parties actually have now less than 3 months to treble their membership under conditions where you can't campaign on the street, you can't hold public meetings, certainly in the country's two largest cities. So I think, the pandemic crisis is being used very consciously to create the most difficult conditions for parties to secure re-registration.
And that other part that I mentioned in the introduction regarding the use of similar words in the names. I mean, in your case, as I understand it, some of the parties with socialist or communist in the name will come, it's a first come, first served basis. How does that kind of trickle through to other parties?
Yeah, that's right. So under the amendments, the party with a name, the party with a word in its name has first rights to that name, and another party seeking to register or to re-register has to ask for their permission to use it. Of course, this is completely anti-democratic. A word such as socialist has a centuries-long tradition, associated with the fight against inequality, against capitalist exploitation. The idea that the Electoral Commission or another political organisation can effectively bar someone or a political party from describing themselves as socialist is outrageous. And again, it's an attempt to narrow the political options available to workers, young people, and others.
Now, I did mention the campaign that your party is running. What are you hoping to achieve? What are the aims you're hoping to achieve with this campaign?
So we're demanding the repeal of this legislation and of all other measures which prohibit anyone, political parties or any individuals, from participating fully in elections and other political fora. We're seeking to secure our re-registration, so we're appealing for workers, students and young people to become electoral members of the Socialist Equality Party. But we're linking this campaign against the laws very directly to the fight for an independent movement of the working class. What we're living through now is an immense crisis of the capitalist system on a global scale. The pandemic has revealed the fact that this system is not compatible with the most basic needs and interests of ordinary people, including to life itself. You now have a situation here where governments and the ruling elite are rushing to lift lockdown measures so that corporate profit-making can resume under conditions of skyrocketing infections, the collapse of the hospital system, and also hanging over everything is the threat of war, including the prospect of a US-led war against China, which Australia would be on the front lines of. So we're explaining that the laws can only really be understood within that broader context. Under conditions of immense crisis, a radicalisation of workers, of young people, is an attempt to prevent the emergence of a political alternative, and we're very much fighting that through our campaign and through our fight for a socialist movement of the working class.
Well, Oscar, look, some big issues obviously brought up there. Really do appreciate your time on this one this morning.